going, everybody? This is Martin Stokes here,
And this is Dean Scurry.
and I am a traveller.
And I'm a countryman.
Welcome to A Traveller
And a countryman
Podcast.
I am delighted to be rejoined on the podcast for the first time in a while by a true Ballymunner and one of the organisers behind the march, Mr. Dean Scurry. Dean, how are you keeping, brother?
Oh, I'm amazing. I'm absolutely feeling amazing. I'm buzzed for this weekend. I think it's going to be epic. It's going to be monumental. It's going to define us as a people. I think that's the energy that's behind it. And I encourage everyone to get involved, to be part of Ireland for All. This is an open invitation. It's almost an opt-out invitation. You know what I mean? Come and get involved. This is the Ireland that we know is possible. So let's all just go and be brave, be courageous, be diverse, and just be strong together. It's going to be stunning.
Dean, look, that's brilliant, and I'm glad people will get the message at the beginning. But can we take the tape back and say where the genesis for this came from? Because it didn't come necessarily from a positive experience. It came from a reaction to some of the negative things that have been happening in our communities and in the community of Ballymun as well.
I think it came from fear and misinformation and a little bit of insecurity, and then people using that momentum or that energy and, pouring a little bit of paraffin onto it for their own agenda. I think that's where it came from. I don't even think it was a thing until somebody hijacked it, or groups of people hijacked it and said, "Oh, we'll have a bit of this." We thought we were going to hijack, the country during COVID, and we tried to do that and just pour fear and hate out into the world and conspiracy and misinformation. But that kind of was the embryo stage of this kind of tactic of pushing fear and hate in Ireland. And Ireland is not full of fear and hate. We're full of love. Céad Míle Fáilte, welcome. Come on in, and we all sit around the fire and have the crack.
You are always someone I know who tries to talk about putting love at the center of everything. We've had conversations on podcasts offline where we're going out swimming in the freezing cold waters, and we're talking, and Dean is telling me about love at the center. Much of the reaction that people had, or that you said about fear, some of that, if you scratch at it, comes from love. It could be love of community. It could be love of a child, and they want that child to get the medical attention they need. It could be love of, a love of a brother or sister who needs some sort of, is waiting on a trolley or sitting in an A&E. There is love. It just can be twisted by people who then say, well, the reason your person who you care and love for, or your community that you care and love for, is under threat is because of the other, the dehumanized, the refugee, the asylum seeker. That is something that we, again, we have to wrestle with within these conversations that we have with people, because it's not necessarily that people are being, they are being misinformed and have been misdirected, but we can't just assume, because there was a very big broad brush. There was a little bit of classism in it, and there was obviously straight away, well, they must be racists as well. So how are you finding over the last few weeks that we're able to have those conversations now and actually explain to people, address those fears and maybe center it back on love?
Yeah, I think obviously there are at the front of some of these marches, because I know the ones in Ballymun, all of a sudden these banners appeared, and they weren't banners that were made by local people, because I'm the banner maker in my community and I didn't make those banners. You know what I mean? So the people kind of leading it out and teasing people out and pouring honey in their ears were definitely, those who had kind of racist ideologies and far-right ideologies. The vast amount of people that came out didn't. They're just ordinary family, community people. And the kind of love thing starts with yourself. If you love yourself, not in a egotistic, vain way, but in an honest, true, spiritual way, you have high self-esteem, and then you can begin to love people in your family, and then you can begin to love people in your community. But it starts with you. And if you're not secure in yourself, and obviously if you're living in precarious situations, you've got a shitty contract, you've got shitty house conditions, It's not the easiest place to have that kind of spiritual love. And Maslow talks about we need to get the water sorted out, the shelter sorted out, and da. And those are the things that me and people like me have been fighting in this country for years, developing resilience and strength and, critical analysis in community and all that type of stuff. Like my last big thing that people would know me for was occupying a 10-story building in Apollo House where shelter was the thing that we were fighting for. And we've almost, without blowing smoke up our own arses, we've probably forced Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael together because housing and homelessness was the largest issue on the election that came directly after Apollo House. And then hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be a housing referendum. And people like me putting ourselves out there and being courageous have encouraged that conversation. And that's all about community, and that's all about love, and that's all about, without sounding too bleeding thick, there's none of us is free until we're all free. You know what I mean? So if I'm grand with my mobile phone and my comfortably numb existence, but I'm shiting on the other person, you know what I mean? Neither of us are free. We're both caught up in something.
Yeah, no, and I actually think it's great to talk about the genesis of that as well, going back to Apollo House, as an example, as a rallying point. There was, even now you see the political repercussions of that. We see the Attorney General was involved at the time as a legal representation in a different capacity. Before he became Attorney General, and he was on the other side of the House, opposite the activists and the people who were taking a stand. And you're right, housing and homelessness is at the core of this, and it still is, even at the core of this event that's happening this weekend, because it is housing for all, it is healthcare for all, it is services for all. But in a country, we have the resources, and that is the issue that we have. We keep being told.
What do you mean we have the resources? We're shit broke in this country. Well, at least some of us are.
Yeah. I think what Mehmet Uladas said a few weeks ago on the pod, where he said Ireland is full of data centers, Ireland is full of low tax paying multi corporations, Ireland is full of these systems that help
and that's kind of subverting or reversing the Ireland is full narrative, or the Ireland says no. Well, Ireland says no to corrupt politicians, to brown envelopes, to Bertie Ahern coming back in after bleeding 10 years, to racism, to hate. Ireland is full of tech centres and billionaires. A couple of them own more wealth than something like 50% of the rest of us. That's where Ireland is full of.
Yeah, no, and that is where we want to get to. But I spoke to Blessing, and we'll be talking to Rosemary Maughan. Both, I believe, will be joining you on stage on Saturday. I hear you're going to be the man with the mic, keeping it moving.
As far as I'm aware, me and Alva are. We're going to co-host. So it's gonna be banter. It's gonna be energy. It's gonna be that Ireland that we all know that is there. We just have to reveal it to each other, and we have to show it. And it's gonna be me dancing. Getting people up on stage. There's a DJ there, Maverick Sabre, Christy Moore are going to perform, Steve Wall, Adam Mohammed, Peter McFerry's going to get up and have a few words. There's going to be people, who are in direct provision talking. You might get 1 or 2 minutes from a couple of politicians, but that's the nature of the beast. I think Ireland for All will represent on this day, on this stage, an Ireland for all.
Yeah, and just when we're now pushing towards the event, can I ask you, are you really feeling better about the fact that this has come from something that maybe seemed to be quite small, maybe a few hundred people? It does seem to be that they're going to get a lot more than a few hundred people now, Dean.
Yeah, I think so. I was just looking at the list of kind of supporters.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
You have Lecala, Massoy, Bowes, Black and Irish, Women Councils of Ireland, SIP2, Unite.
You could live. We're not spending the whole podcast reading.
I'm like
there's so many.
One line into a 15-line document that I could read you. Everybody's on board. And what I was said to people the other day at the press conference was that almost this is an opt-out thing. You know what I mean? If you're not with this, if you don't want an Ireland for all, what do you want? What is your alternative? Is there an alternative to what we're suggesting? Because if it is, I don't know if it's based in community or in love. It's probably based in individualism and me, and hate.
Well, the issue I have, though, is you mentioned the politicians, and I do think a lot of the problems are political and need to be solved politically, because we've seen, and I don't want to. I don't want to push individuals on this, but I will, individual politicians, because it's a structure that's been maintained. But you mentioned people from direct provision. Only a couple of years ago, Dean, we were told when this government came into power, there's a white paper and we're going to get rid of direct provision.
There will be nobody from Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael standing anywhere near that stage on Saturday. Let me make that abundantly clear. They've been gangsters in this country for the last 100 years, okay? They are the reason that we're doing this. We shouldn't have to do this. People like me shouldn't have to do this. We have political opposition. That's their role, okay? We have guards, special detective units. That's their role. People like me should be lying in a hammock meditating, okay? But unfortunately, our government and our representatives in councils across the country haven't been stepping up and have allowed this hate to breed. And what I'm going to breed, and people are going to stand in solidarity, is breathe love back into our communities, breathe confidence, breathe strength back in the communities. There's no strength in racism. There's no strength in the far right. It's the only thing they offer is fear and hate. The only thing our government offer at the moment is misinformation, poverty, homelessness, and big bleeding tech companies. Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant.
no, and look, I mean, I just like, I'm glad you did it, because I would have been accused of showing my biases, but I'm very clear about how I feel about the cycle that has gotten us here in terms of, who the politicians have, the governments have actively served and serviced and continue to service, rather than we can only sit and hear so often that we've the fastest growing economy in the world while inequality is growing. And you're saying, lads, do you not understand that I don't live in an economy? I don't get it. GDP figures don't fill my stomach. I'm
going to make it very clear who the market is in this country. Okay, the market is the mothers, is the women. They have all of the spending power in this country, and that's who I urge to come out on Saturday. Is the mothers, is the women, is the sisters. Let's stand together. Yous are the ones who make all the financial decisions in all the households all over this country. Yous have the market power in your pocket, and don't ever forget that. And just like, those young working class men who are blamed on, being stored up, those young working class men, working class women all over this country have the power in their pocket when they vote. And that's what I'm going to encourage them to do, is register to vote. And when the referendum on housing comes up, vote. When Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael release us into a new general election, vote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it's critical.
That's where the real power is in this.
And again, that's because that's another reason why, unfortunately, political education has been overlooked in this country. I believe, and many will back me up on this, will say the state don't really want you to be politically educated.
Keep them dumb, comfortably numb. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's quite striking. Can I ask, you mentioned the mothers, the sisters, and there's a lot. I recall from seeing some of the lists of people speaking. It is pretty. This is two lads talking here, but it's pretty women led.
It's pretty women led. Yeah, I think most of the artists are kind of lads. Now we've reached out to everybody.
Yeah.
So what has come back is I can't drag people onto the stage. I'll drag someone off the stage, but I can't drag people onto the stage. Yeah. What has come back is most of the artists seem to be men. So we need to kind of balance that out. I'll encourage female artists to get in touch with me if they want to jump up on stage. Absolutely. I'm reaching out to a Ukrainian female singer this afternoon. So we need to find a balance in it, because the balance is important, because I think it's easier to live in a country where we have balance rather than it's one-sided, and that's the order that we're trying to live in.
Yeah, well, no, but you mentioned the artists. I can talk about the speakers, and the speakers I've all encountered and spoken to myself are powerhouse women from across different, different communities.
What list have you got?
Well, I've spoken to Rosemary Mon, who I've mentioned. I've spoken to Blessing Dada already. These are people like Blessing is Dublin born, but a proud Black and Irish woman who also, has a chronic illness, and she speaks through those prisms brilliantly. Like, I can't talk about her experiences, but there she is, and she's a wonderful speaker.
I remember during the repeal thing, a perspective came to me really quickly. During all the heated debate, is that I don't have a womb. I just don't have a womb, and I'll never know what it is to have a womb or to go through any of that. So I don't have that perspective. And I'm not black. I'm not Muslim. I'm not a refugee. I'm not disabled. I'm not homeless. And they're the people I think we need to be listening to, because that is our country. That is our country. That is Ireland for all. It's all those people. It's the people in prisons. It's the LGBT community. It's the Black and Irish community. There's the traveling community. Like, I haven't spoke face to face with Rose, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm not. Yeah. It's not something that I fear. I want to stand there and give her a hug and have a conversation about what we have in common and get her on our podcast, the Traveller and the Countryman podcast. And I know Martin Stokes, who's my co-host on that, is a little bit skeptical and a little bit fearful, but we all have to take a courageous step forward together. Otherwise, we just stand in the muck. You know what I mean? Stand knee deep in our own insecurities. And I've tried to live in a world where I'm insecure and I'm full of hate, and it leaves me in a room on my own with a rope, and I'm not being bleeding glib about that. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I put love at the center of everything, because the alternative is blood and fire on the streets.
Yeah, well, we want to make sure. No, look, Dean, you've always been very, very open about speaking about your own mental health and how you. One of the conversations myself and Dean have had about is our own struggles, but our own kind of ideas of how we do that, and I encourage anybody to if you feel like that, if you feel down, obviously reach out, use the services that are available, but also think of what Dean has just said there about that perspective of love at the center of everything. I mean, there's so much good in the world, and this is what we're hoping to bring out this Saturday. Dean, if I was just to ask you to wrap though, are you hoping to see faces that went to some of the other marches, the intimidatory marches, I will call some of them? Are you hoping to see some of those faces actually come and be present in a positive sense?
Not just hoping. I know that they will be there. Okay, they've told me that they're going to be there. And one of the first things we done in Ballymun was listen to those voices. They are the voices in our community, and if we ignore them at our peril, they are us as well. You know what I mean? And
we can't like people keep saying we don't, but like, the country voted overwhelmingly for Michael McDowell's racist referendum. It voted in my lifetime to say there are friends of mine, and we saw this in the last 24 hours, where I've been going on for years about the Irish investor program, the immigrant investor program, which is golden visas, right? So you could £500,000, you can basically buy your way into Ireland. I've been going on about it for years. And one of the reasons I get so upset about it is because there are friends of mine who were born here, but because their parents were of African descent, don't have Irish passports. Yet you can rock up, throw 500 grand to Bartra Capital, to fucking Richie Barrett, and get an Irish visa. It's just the whole thing.
You can buy a way into Ireland, but if you're fleeing war or oppression or political crimes or whatever, you know what I mean? You can't. You have to beg, and you have to stand there in line for 10 years in direct provision. Direct provision is broken, okay? And immigrants and those seeking refuge and asylum didn't design our direct provision system, our international protection system. They didn't design that. They're just... it's a circumstance in which they find themselves, okay? Just like a homeless person didn't design homelessness. It's a circumstance in which they find themselves. The traveling people did not design the disgusting conditions that they live in halting sites across the country.
That was the state did that. The state did that.
Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael did that. That's who this is opposed to. That's where the fight is. And if you have a vote in this country, I urge you on the next election to use that vote, okay? And don't be threatening to burn people out of refugee centres, please. That does not represent me or anybody that I'm associated with. Absolutely. And just on the mental health stuff, every single person you see in this country, or have ever seen or will ever see in this country or anywhere else in the world, has their own shit, has their own insecurities and fears, but they also have their own love, every single person. And if you see other people as human, and you don't see them as villains or demons or the devil or the other, I think that's the Ireland that we're suggesting. Okay. And that's the call that we'll be making on Saturday, probably in front of 20,000 people. If it's 40,000 people, I wouldn't be, surprised. So come out, come all ye. This is Ireland for all. This is dignity, solidarity, strength, community. Don't be afraid. I'm standing there. I'm 6 foot tall, and I'll wrap my arms around you, and I'll hug the bleeding life out of you. Okay, and I'll show you, and I'll give you love all day, every day.
Listen, folks, we are asking you all to come out and tell people as well. Share, let them know. Make sure you're tweeting. There's also an online post where you can post your 10-second video as why you're going, and then they will be sharing it across the Ireland for All hashtag and in those different social media realms. So if you can, please, get your arse out and show that.
And that video call is, I'm going to read it out now. My name is Dean Scurry. I want an Ireland for all. Diversity, not division. We are stronger together. See us all Saturday, February 18th. Cade Mead of Fáilte. And Christy Moore is playing. Are you joking me? Down. It's going to be stunning.
I'm more there for Adam Mohammed.
I am an ordinary man, nothing special, nothing grand.
Well, I think everybody knows you're anything but. Dean Scurry, thanks so much for your time. Looking forward to seeing you and getting that hug off you on Saturday, brother. It's been great to see the work that you've done for years and years and years, but also really, really heartening to see the last few weeks how quickly people have rallied in the community, and it's a credit to yourself as well. So thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it.
No problem, brother. And the work that you guys do on this podcast and the Tortoise Shack service in general is stunning. And I urge people to throw $5 a month in. Please support these guys, because otherwise we're just listening to the RTE, and we know how humdrum that can get.
Talk to you soon,
brother.
folks.
See you Saturday.
For me to be more loving and tolerant and embracing of other people and other people's cultures. Like I was in Fuerteventura surfing with my mate at Christmas, and I noticed there wasn't many brown or black people there. So I asked the dude who he hired the camper van for, I was like, where's all the brown people? And he's like, it's kind of more Germans and, white people that come to this island.
Yes.
So the day I was leaving, I went down to the docks, went into this little cafe, and I was chatting, and there was this black girl there. She was kind of a little bit nervous, and she was having her lunch, and then when she went for a smoke, she grabbed her purse and her bag, and she walked past us, and I tried to be as less threatening to her as possible. So anyway, between the jigs and the reels, I got talking to her, and she's there as a photojournalist for a big newspaper, and she's documenting. So she's a young black Moroccan woman documenting refugees leaving Morocco and places like that and going to the Canary Islands.
Very good.
She's taking pictures of that. And we got talking about that. And that's kind of when I realised my New Year's resolution is to encourage those conversations as much as possible, so I am less fearful and less ignorant and less ill-informed of those types of things. And as we were talking, I started bursting out bleeding crying, because I realised that the conversation we were having, me and this young black journalist, photographer, was very, very rare, but very, very important. That we see what the common humanity that we have, rather than seeing the division, the obvious division we have. She's a woman, I'm a man, we can't talk. She's black, I'm white, we can't talk. She's Moroccan, I'm Irish, we can't talk. Fuck that shit. Telling you now, fuck that shit. Is there a song we can sing about that?
Is that going to me?
Fuck that shit.
Is that going
I don't want to be racist or know any racist. If you're an intolerant, ignorant racist, go fuck yourself.
So, Dean, tell me something now. Now you're talking about racists, yeah? Do you, what do you think of people that are racist?
I think...
Now, let's get this one right first.
Let's do it.
No, let's get this one right. Racism and discrimination are the same thing, am I right?
Yeah, okay.
Let's be honest. They are the same thing. Is there, do you know any difference in them? Yeah.
discrimination is kind of like you treat one set of people differently from another set of people, where
Yes.
racism is one set of people expressly feel superior to another set of people.
Same thing.
It's kind of, yeah,
Ding.
one of them. So I can feel superior and not treat you differently, or I can feel superior and treat you differently.
But it's a fact that people are still being treated different on both of them.
Yeah, based on a number of things, like
No, I think it's just written in different lines, that's all.
kind of. So Irish people were treated differently, for example, in America and in London.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much so that, I wear a t-shirt now that says more blacks, more dogs, more Irish. And it's a kind of antidote to the slogan that was used in London,
right.
which says no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, no
No
travellers,
travellers, that's
no
right.
Jews.
Yeah.
Like in America in the 50s, there was a signs all over the place that says no Jews, only Gentiles. Yeah. And I was looking going, what is a Gentile? Because I remember hearing that word when I was growing up, Jews and Gentiles. And a Gentile is basically anybody who's not a Jew. So the sign was saying no Jews. And then underneath it had only white Northern Europeans accepted. This was in like a golf society in America in the 50s. Only white Northern Europeans accepted.
Sick.
So that's a superiority thing. We're white and we're superior and you're not and you're inferior and we're going to treat you differently. So much so that we're going to exclude you from our society. We're going to separate you apart. Yeah. And the word apart, the next word after that is apartheid. So travellers, for example, put out apart or separate to settle people is a form of apartheid. So I think that that's kind of it. Superiority is actually, for me, is people's way of expressing their insecurity or their feeling of inferiority or their fear. So they'll stand up and go, no, me, big white man, me, I'm best. You are black man.
Is that how white men talk?
I don't know what accent I'm trying to do there. But you know what I mean? Me, I'm a white Irish Christian nationalist. I am the best. Anybody who's not white Irish Christian nationalist, go fuck off and get out of the country. The madness of that is Irish people in Ireland make up a very small percentage of Irish people in the world.
That's right.
So let's say there's 100 million Irish people in the world. 4 to 5 million of them live in Ireland. So 5% of all Irish people, all Irish stories, all Irish poems, all Irish money, all Irish relationships, 5% only live in Ireland. 95% of Irish people
Are all over the world.
are immigrants,
Yes.
are foreigners, basically.
The
We're
yeah.
foreigners. 95% of our total, what we call Irish ethnic group,
Yes.
we're foreigners.
Simple as, yes.
Done. That's it. So how the fuck can we stand up and point the finger
At foreigners coming in here,
at
basically.
foreigners coming in here or people who we perceive as inferior to us because we're afraid? So I think that that's where it's at. And I, all day, every day, will challenge the fucking stupidity of that, the ignorance of that, the selfishness of that.
So, Dean, tell me something, right? I know it's probably, you don't like people who are racist against others, do you?
No, I just don't like anybody who thinks they're superior to anybody else.
Okay, right. You don't like people who discriminate against other people, do you?
If you're
Especially
discriminating,
the lesser
if
marginalised.
somebody else is getting treated differently based on anything, I question that. Height. Let's say, okay, only 6 foot people can get the ice cream. Well, what about 5'5" people? Yeah, well, they don't get ice cream. Only people with brown eyes can get into the shop. Well, what about people with no eyes? Yeah, well, we don't serve no eye fuckers. Only left-handed people get clothes. Well, what about right-handed people? I was discriminated when I was a kid because I was left-handed, and I was actually called lefty or dummy or fucking... It's mad, isn't it? Now, only recently in this country, if you were gay, you went to prison. Only recently in this country, if you were A, B and C, X, Y and Z happened to you. Only recently in London, if you were Irish, you were accused of being a terrorist. Only recently in this country, if you were a traveller, you were a fucking knacker. So how long are we going to hold on to any of this stuff? And who's the new victim? Is there this wanky phrase, military-aged black men? I'm a military-aged man. Am I a threat to people in this country? To young men and young women or people going to school?
Yes.
I live beside a fucking school. Am I a threat because I'm a man? So I'm calling that shit out all day. It's based in fear. It's based in division. If you think that those people are the enemy, you want to get your fucking head out of your TikTok, okay? Yeah. The enemy is the banking institutions, is the corrupt political classes. If you think it's some poor refugee immigrant coming into Ireland, there's 95 million of Irish people doing that around the fucking world for the last 200 years since we had the famine.
If you knew people who were discriminating, just say against blacks, for instance, right? Would you, if they were friends of yours, would you like that? No. Simple question.
I have friends who do that.
You have?
Yeah. Now, they don't always put the hand up and say...
And they still call them friends, yeah.
That's an interesting one. If somebody is like that, and I realise they're like that, because not all the time they put their hand up and go, you know, by the way, I don't like gay people, or I don't like disabled people. Not everyone says that. Yeah.
No, but if you've seen it happening...
If I seen it happen, let's say, for example...
If it was a close friend of yours
here's an interesting one. I was getting a taxi once home from a Vicar Street gig, and I was with another couple. And one of the people that was with us was a taxi driver. The fella I was with was a bit drunk, but he was a taxi driver in his normal day.
He was a taxi driver, yeah.
So this taxi's coming towards us. It's 1:30 a.m. We're all a bit drunk. We're all going the same way. I put my hand out, and the taxi driver was black.
Yes.
And he said to me, I'm not getting into that taxi. And I said, we don't have a relationship anymore.
Did you?
Yeah. We're kind of done now because you're a fucking idiot.
That's the stuff, yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like, oh, please, oh, we're all drunk, oh, I was only messing.
So did you get into the taxi?
I got into the taxi with the black man,
left him
with
there.
my partner, and went home and just left him and said, bro, you're big and bold enough to be a fucking idiot on your own.
That's right.
You don't need me to be an idiot with you.
That's right.
And I'm going to call out your stupidity. I think if you don't call it out, you're complicit.
Well, he didn't do himself any favours. He was just standing on the street, wasn't he?
Yeah. If you don't call it out, you're complicit in the ignorance, in the self-righteousness, in the self-importance, in the supremacy.
Yeah.
If you don't call it out. If you just shut your mouth and you say nothing and you hear no evil, see no evil, get off the fucking fence and take a stand.
You're making us a part of it.
Because there's people in this world who are being really, really fucking hurt, and some of them are your cousins, friends, aunties. Some of them were gay, some of them were disabled, some of them were this and that. So if we don't call it out, we're complicit.
Yeah, it needs to stop somewhere, doesn't it?
So, okay, so 2023, if any of my friends are intolerant racists, just do yourself a favour, come and have a chat with me, or fuck off. Boom, done.
Oh man, indeed, I like that one.
And if here's another one for you. If any traveller men don't have what it takes to sit in a room with a traveller woman, go and fuck yourself. Cards on the table. Go and fuck yourself.
Yeah, but you're bringing it here. There's no one saying anyone's racist against traveller women. We're simply saying.
You know what I mean? I just call it the way I see it.
We're simply saying through our own weaknesses, we are very shy to talk to other travelling women.
Grow a set of balls and start talking. Grow up.
It's very simple, and that is not disrespecting anybody.
I'll be your baby tonight.
Oh my God.
Give us an old tune there, will you?
You can calm down there a bit now, Dean, because you're beating everybody up there for a little while. So take a breather there.
It's not about beating everybody up. It's about if you want to be silent, be fucking silent. But it's not good enough. More blacks, more dogs, more Irish. If you want to be silent, you want to sit in the fence, you want to sit in your little cozy fucking I'm all right, Jack. Don't put the knackers in beside me. If you want to sit in that world, just fuck off. I've no time for you. I've no tolerance for that. I'll sit down and have a conversation with you and tease it out, but I guarantee you it's based in your fear, your ignorance and your insecurity, and it's not based in love.
Yeah, it's too much of it happening all over the world, to be honest about. But sure, look, it's up to themselves if they want to change it or not, isn't it? It's their own, as you say, it's their own ignorance.
It's their own bag of shite that they're carrying around.
Which means it's their own problems.
Yeah, but it's not just their own problems when they're out marching on the streets in my community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or they're out pointing fingers.
But it is their own problems. It really is. It's themselves that's the
I
problem.
know, but they can also cause real hurts to people
Oh, yeah, that's true. I know
based
that.
in fear. The boogeyman in this country used to be the traveller.
Yes.
There's a new boogeyman. He's a military-aged brown refugee from Africa. That's the new boogeyman. So anyway, I was out surfing, and between the jigs and the reels, I was in the big boy surf, and I'm not a big boy surfer, and I had a couple of accidents, and one of the accidents was I dislocated the tip of my little finger because I had the leash wrapped around it. A big wave came in. Anyway, me finger dislocated, and I pushed it back in, put a little splint on it, came home, went into the rapid injury clinic in Smithfield. Within an hour, I was seen by a non-Irish brown person. Yeah?
Yeah.
20 minutes later, I got an x-ray in a room by a non-Irish brown woman.
Yeah.
Another 20 minutes later, somebody else came in to check on me, and they were like, you know, Eastern European person. I went
They're all nice people, they were.
I went into the hospital the next
They
day.
looked after you, basically.
I went into the hospital the next day for surgery.
Yes.
I probably got the care of about 15 people. Some of them Irish, some of them male, some of them white, some of them brown, some of them Italian, some of them Chinese, some of them fucking African. But they all fell over themselves
All
to give
lovely
me
people.
care and love and attention.
Very, very good.
And I'm telling you what, if I want to throw that back in their face and say we only want white Christian Irish people in this country, what a fucking idiot I am. What a hypocrite I am.
Yes.
They fell over themselves to save my tiny little finger. While there's people in this country dying of fucking COVID and whatever else, flu and trolleys. Me, fucking Tico from Ballymun, paid 75 quid and got treated like a fucking king.
Very good.
And I'm telling you now, it made me really look at where we are as a country. If we think that this country will survive with just safe, white, Irish, Christian people, we need to get our fucking head out of our arses.
Supposing this country went upside
The
down.
way you say that, supposing this country.
Supposing this country went upside down in a year's time. Just say that.
Yeah.
And the majority of people had to flee from this country for one reason or another. And
Let's say the Brits got an itch in their
look at
balls.
whatever, Dean. Look at whatever,
Let's
right?
say, okay, sorry, go on.
I'm just saying. I'm not going to start
I'm always
using
at the Brits.
which reason. You're dead down the Brits. It's only wonder there's none of them over here in Ireland. Suppose and say, right, again, this country upside down, and say for one reason or another that the Irish people had to flee Ireland and head to America or England or whatever
Somewhere
country,
where they're not white and they don't speak
whatever
English.
country takes them in, yes?
Iceland. Well, that's white.
Yeah. What would the feeling be then like about that they'd have, and it did happen before, we know that, back in the war times, where they all had to emigrate to America and
We're in a
stuff.
fucking famine.
Not just to America, emigrate to anywhere they could. The best way of putting it, even to get work or one thing or another. So, what's the difference then of other people coming in here to this country just to live?
Martin, don't be making this about other people. We want what we want. We're not getting what we want. Fuck everyone else. I don't care about anyone else. I'm just looking out for me and me ma and me sister and me brother. I'm all right, Jack. And I don't really give a rat's about any fucking other people. And don't be trying to set me up going, what if Ireland was at war tomorrow? Ireland's never going to be at war.
Yeah.
There's never going to be a famine here. We're never going to be colonised. We'll never have to move out of this safe little country
Yeah, they're not
and
looking.
travel the world and look to scrape out a living in all the different pockets all over the world.
Maybe look
That's
for,
a fucking
maybe-
fantasy.
Maybe look for rations, never mind anything else.
So during the week, Martin rang me up and he said, Dean, I want you to listen to something. And he read me something out and it was powerful. It was really, really powerful. So Martin has a lovely piece that he's going to read now. I just want people to sit back and listen to it and just hear the words.
We are one. Hello, good Irish people. I've come here to your isle. I had to flee my country. I'm just here for a while. I ask you to be patient. I ask you to be kind. Please don't close your heart to me or pretend to be blind. To you, I might look different, cause my language or my race. But if we work together, it can be a better place. I don't know why you're angry. Please help me understand. If we could sit and talk a while, or maybe shake a hand. To me ye are nice people, as all the world can see. If your government has let you down, don't take it out on me. I understand your anger if things don't go your way, but let's just get together and make a better day. I have a home and family and everything was fine, but war destroyed our country. We had to leave it all behind. So please try to bear with me, if only for a while. We might get to know each other, or maybe share a smile. I know we might look different by the colour of our skin, but the true fact is we're all the same when we look from within. So thank you, Irish people, for your patience, love and care. I'm glad that we have talked it out and took the time to share. So now the war is over, I'm free to go back home. When I get to see my family, I never more will roam. And now back in my country, I'm sitting all alone. I'm thinking of my Irish friends and welcoming them to my home. So if you think of coming to stay here for a while, my door is always open and I'll greet you with a smile. I love the Irish people. They are great and they are fun. Welcome to my country, 'cause together we are one.
Good morning, Dean. Are you there? Good. We have you live now. Good morning, Dean. How are you?
I am very good indeed. Happy New Year to you.
I wish you the same. So I know you, but my audience would like to know you as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, so my name is Dean Scurry. I am from Ballymun in Dublin, so I am a Ballymunner.
Okay.
I'm a community leader for about 30 years in Ballymun.
Okay.
And most recently, I do a podcast called A Traveller and a Countryman. So I would do that with a traveller man called Martin Stokes, and then I am the countryman. That's what traveller people call people who aren't travellers. They call them settled people or country people.
Okay. So.
And then,
yeah.
And also a few years ago, to help the homeless situation in Ireland, I occupied a building at Christmas and took in 100 homeless people.
Wow.
So a lot of people would know me for that activity.
That's really amazing. So for somebody like you as a Ballymunner, then what happened in Ballymunner a couple of days ago? Was that not unbelievable?
No, it's not unbelievable. It's not nice from any side. It's not nice from the guys coming to our community seeking shelter and refuge and asylum. But also, Ballymun is an interesting community because we have kind of been... so in about 50 years ago, Ballymun was set up as this new amazing utopia community in Ireland. And very quickly, the council in Dublin, the Dublin City Council, did not continue their part of the agreement. When people paid rent, they did not maintain the area. The government did not put in the services like shopping centres, schools and bus routes. So we have had a 50-year history of not very good services in a community that is kind of like public housing. And what happens is people don't aspire to do much better, in their job. They don't go for promotion or go to college too much because they'll get too educated and then their rent will go up. So this has caused a lot of problems in Ballymun. Yeah. And then the Dublin City Council recently in the last 10 years spent €1 billion to fix, some of these problems. But this caused more problems. So now 20% of all the homeless people in Dublin are from Ballymun. Yeah, and there's a lot. Like homelessness is the number one issue, homelessness in housing in the government for the last 5 years since we occupied Apollo House. If you bring in the complicated issue
of refugees, asylum seekers, direct provision, and you put that into a community like Ballymun, the people there are a little bit confused to say, we have a lot of homelessness in this community, and now you want to put in extra bodies, extra people in places that we don't have. So they're a little bit angry. So my role is to kind of be in the middle and say, hold on, we have to see these brothers and sisters coming from different places in the world as the same as us. You know what I mean? They are also victims. They are also victims in this question, and they are not the devil. They are not the boogeyman. They are not the danger to our women. Blah 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 blah.
Of course. So the gathering, the protest took place in front of the shelter for asylum seekers, and a lot of people, ministers, politicians, community people have been saying that was actually an intimidation. And where you have children, that can be scary, and it may be an experience that maybe those kids will never forget. Well, you have said that, okay, the protest, everybody has right to protest, fine. And based on what you explained now, maybe Ballymunans had that right to actually be angry and put their foot down. But at the same time, do you think the protest should have been staged in front of the shelter?
No, I don't. I think that is it's a misguided or a misdirected protest. It's a bit of fear and anger, and like there are a lot of protests. Like there was a protest, say, in November in Dublin in the city centre for housing. Not many people from Dublin turned up. Maybe only 10,000.
Okay.
You know. And what we need for these people to do is, yes, have a release for your frustration and have your anger and protest, but do it in a place where the people who are making decisions and power and have money, do it where they sit, not in the place where you have vulnerable, scared women, children, men coming from places where they might be attacked or killed in their own country for war or for their beliefs, or they have to leave for, climate reasons and so on. Do it in the place where the men in suits are making decisions, not in the place where there's children in pajamas.
Yeah. Looking through the window and looking at like what's happening.
My invitation to everybody in this country is protest in the place where power is.
Yeah,
That would be where
power
to protest.
is. I think that is great. So what would be your message to the government this morning in terms of engaging with people? Based on what you explained that for so long, it's not even about the asylum seekers, but the fact that 20% of homeless people are actually in Ballymun. And now the asylum seekers are being sheltered in Ballymun again. So we know there is housing crisis in Ireland. And there is a homeless issue in Ballymun, especially now. So what would be your message to government this morning?
My message to government is, you have woken us up and we are coming for you. That is the message. You have allowed these situations, this lack of communication, this property speculation, this homelessness, and now you have woken us up. We are awake now and we are coming for you. And you better be responsible, or you go, you leave. You can get out, not the refugee. You, the politician, the speculator, the banker, you can get out.
Mm-hmm. So what are you are a community leader and you've been working with diverse people for years. What has been your experience working with non-Irish people in Ireland?
So the other day, I had an opportunity at the end of a protest. I kind of snuck in behind all of the fear and anger, and I went in and I met Lucky. You know Uncle Lucky?
No.
He's from Matside, the organisation, Lucky Kambuli, and he's an elder, an African elder. Okay, let's put it that way. So I met him, and he took me in to meet these young boys, these young men that everybody is afraid of. And I stood there and I put my hands out and I said, brother, I am your brother. But that is my experience of meeting them. I will come open. You are my brother. but also the people outside angry. They are my brother. They are my brother and sister. So my experience is, where possible, bring people together. Let us look each other in the eyes. Look at the humanity and not the fear. Look at the human and not the devil. So my experience is we have, across Ireland and not just in Ballymun, we have opportunities to come together. And that is what I look for. How can we come together? Because division makes us all weak. If we're all divided, we're all weak. And some organizations want us to be weak, you know? Like the government does not want us to be strong. Far-right organizations do not want us to be strong.
Thank you so much, Dean.
My thing is, where do we find strength in each other?
Yeah. We need to find strength in each other and strengthen ourselves so that we can be strong together.
Yeah, and it begins with ourselves. The courage begins in our stomach, in our heart, in our head.
I was going to ask you that now, talking about coming together, where do you think we can start from?
We're doing this now, me and you having conversation now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My name is Dean. I am a white man. Your name, tell me how to pronounce your name.
I'm from African descent.
So how do I say your name? Tell me.
Islamia.
So
Yeah, correct.
This white Irish man is coming together with Islamia, this black African woman. That's how we do it. It's simple.
Yeah.
You know, we have conversations and we see opportunities to learn and grow. Yes, we have differences and they will inform us, but yes, we also have a lot in common. You cry, I cry, you fear, I fear, you laugh, I laugh. Let us dance together. You know what I mean?
Of course.
It's so simple. Let us play football together. Let us cry together. If we do it together, we are stronger. If we do it apart, we are not.
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely. So lastly, before I let you go, Dean, what will be your message to Ballymunans this morning? The situation is still there. Nothing has really changed. I may not even change in a while. So, and you are saying they're afraid, they're angry and all. So would you like to kind of make an appeal to Ballymunans that are listening this morning?
Okay, so my appeal, my statement is to young men, you know. So when I was a young man, 17 years of age, in this country, there was a lot of protests about drugs, drug pushers, out, yeah?
Yeah.
So I got involved in this, and at a certain point, I was standing beside a drug dealer's house with a petrol bomb in my hand, ready to kill a man. Yeah? But then I got some extra information from a community leader to say, this drug dealer, he's doing a sneaky business illegal with the police also. Oh, I didn't see that part of the thing. I just seen my anger, and I seen this is the person that I want to take my anger out. And I stopped for a second, and I took the advice of the community leader. And I did not throw a petrol bomb at this man's house. And if I did, I would have gone to prison, and I would have had a life of pain and regret.
Of course.
But now I have a life of love and community, solidarity, humanity, joy. So it's a choice. You know, that's it, sister. It's a choice. But some people, they don't know they have a choice. So let's show them the option. Let's show them the choice.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dean Scurry. I hope we do this more often. When you have something going on in the community, you can always call me to let us know about it. And we look forward to working with you.
Yeah. And I look forward to giving you a big hug.
No problem at all. Thank you so much, Dean, for your time this morning.
Thank you, sister. Thank you very much.
All right, bye now. Enjoy your day.
Hey, this is Dean Scurry. I'm a Ballymunner. I am 50 years in Ballymun, and what we know in Ballymun is that this is the best community in the world. It's strong, it's loving, it's brave, it's welcoming, and that's where we're going in our community. We are an amazing community. We are a light in this country. The perception is that we're not, but when you come and you're here, We are full of love, full of welcome, full of warmth, full of wisdom. And the story that we're going to put out in the community of the next couple of weeks will reveal that to the rest of the country to go, wow, Ballymun is amazing. And Ballymun opens its arms. We have been the rubbish in this country for 50 years. We're 50 years old this year. And for the next 50 years, we're going to go on a transformative journey of healing and loving. And I think what you see in Ballymun over the last couple of days is a bit of fear. And there's people who are not from this community, who don't protest in this community normally, who are taking advantage of a people who are tired and in fear. And none of those people who are coming to this community, like the Nationalist Party, were with me when I held one of the largest protests ever in this country in Apollo House. And the reason I done that is because 20% of all homeless people in Dublin are from Ballymun. We fight our own fights. We are our own community. We are strong and we know where we're going. There isn't hate in this community. Who is the baddie? Let's put a poster of the baddie up on the wall, and then it's easy to spread the myth and the lies that this person is the baddie. And in London in the 70s, the white Irish man was the baddie. We were the bombers and the terrorists, okay? And it was the travellers, and it was the gays, and it was whoever else is easy to put up on a poster. These guys will never put themselves up on a poster and say we're the baddies. They will play Irish traditional songs and whistle Dixie and get people to walk down a road. That's easy to do. What's not easy to do is to be in this community for 50 years and do community work and be in it every single day, rain, hail or snow, snots and tears. I don't think it's a counter protest, because then that means that we're in a fight with this group. I'm not fighting with this group. I'm not fighting with anybody. What I'm going to show is, by example, I'm going to breathe through my heart. I'm going to show love in my community. That's what we're going to do. We're going to show community, solidarity, humanity. That's the journey that we're going on. Yeah. Now there is another journey of fear and hate, and I totally understand that, and blame and finger pointing. But at some point, the boogeyman has to be other than the easily kickable brown African refugee. There was a housing protest that happened in Dublin a few weeks ago. About 10,000 people turned up. We need 200,000 people to turn up at that. And this year, when we have a housing referendum, we need people to vote yes. When we have a water referendum, we need people to vote yes. We don't need to be blaming people in our community who are afraid and calling them racists, because they're not. They're just tired and afraid. And me and a number of other community leaders met tonight, and I am, like, my name is as synonymous in Ballymun as News Talk is around the country. Okay? People know me. They know I'm not bullshitting. They know when I speak that I'm speaking with truth and honesty and love. And I'm going to encourage them and support them to come on a journey with me. And part of that journey is, I went into the accommodation yesterday and I held the hands of 4 black men, and I called them me brothers, because they are me brothers. They're either me brothers or they're me enemies. They're my brothers. And the people of Ballymun are my brothers and sisters as well. And I think we can all come to a point in understanding, seeing the humanity in it, where we can see each other as human and not as victims and not as villains.
Of Dean Scurry.
A very small minority. I would reckon if there's 20,000 people in Ballymun, that the 200 people there or thereabouts makes up about 1%. But that's not to dismiss that 1% and their feelings and their fears and their power. They have something to say and they want to be heard. It just mightn't be the most thought out thing that they're saying. It might be based in fear. It might be based in misinformation. And that's something that maybe me as a long-term Ballymunner a community activist, community worker, someone who's done tremendous work in the community with others over the last 30, 40 years, we might be able to address some of those issues, some of those fears, some of that misinformation. And I think fear is a really, really interesting fuel that's being used in this country. If you try and use the fuel of love, you don't have as dramatic and immediate results. That takes longer. Community, love, solidarity, humanity takes longer. Fear takes 5 seconds. Fear is like paraffin.
Ballymun for all was the word out of that meeting yesterday. Community workers who were there on the ground every day of the week, and really the aim going forward is to show solidarity with those whom are being housed in the Travelodge Hotel.
It's to show solidarity with all. If we alienate people who are standing there protesting and we allow other sinister forces who have nothing else for this community other than fear, if we alienate those people and we allow them to possibly be, groomed into the ranks of those nasty organisations, well then we're not Ballymun for all. What's planned is well thought out messaging, a programme of events that everybody can get involved in, a way of communicating that doesn't ignite any more possible fear sticks, and bundles of fear. There's loads of bundles of fear going around, and it's easy to pour a fuel on them and light them up. You know what I mean? What's the antidote to that? How do we work as a community to encourage humanity, encourage solidarity, encourage seeing people as human, as brothers, as sisters, and not as the baddie, not as the villain, not blaming their skin colour or their gender or their circumstances of homelessness or refugee status against them. And we in Ballymun know that inside out. Like in the 80s, Ballymunners almost had to lie to say, no, I live in Santry in order for you to get into a nightclub or a pub or to get a job. So we know that inside out.
And that's Dean Scurry. A good line, I must say. Hate is like paraffin.
It reminds me of the whites in South Africa not seeing anything wrong with the rules and regulations for black people in various parts of South Africa.
Yeah.
You don't get to work, you don't get to vote, you don't do this and this.
Yeah.
You receive less education. Just like travellers in this country, you receive almost different education to the people who are not travellers. There's so many comparisons to direct provision, to what's happening to travellers or what has happened to travellers in the last 50 years in this country, to what was happening in your country. And it feels like it's control. And when Martin was saying, why did they do this? Was it because of colour? I think colour might have been the excuse, but the reason was money and control.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Power.
It was.
Yeah, but why wasn't it happening to all the white people in his country then?
Because the white people are the ones who came from Europe historically and wanted to remove the resources, the minerals, the golds, the diamonds from the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Because South Africa is rich in terms of mineral resources.
It's rich in terms of people as well. The people of South Africa are its greatest asset in my eyes. You know what I mean? Especially the black people of South Africa.
We were made strong by the sufferings that we faced. We could face anything because of that.
Yes.
When your back is pushed against the wall, you got to push back. You have no choice.
That's right.
We know that in Ballymun, we developed, willingly or not, we developed resilience.
Yeah.
And so much so that now we developed community and resilience, and so much so that now you can see in the middle of this kind of culture war or refugee blaming situation, that Ballymun is standing up and saying, hold on a minute. We know what it is to be pushed down, to be alienated, to be villainized, to be made look like the baddie. So we're not going to do that to others.
When you talk about that, to me, with the little history that I have about Ireland and the history and the sufferings of yesteryears in this country, it tells me that there are people that are ignorant of the history of this country and don't cherish the peaceful settlement that existed here over 100 years ago now. And it's a shame to those that fought, to those women and men that fought for the liberation of this country, and for people to just tarnish the image of Ireland. And in the name of Ireland, in the name of the people of Ireland, it's something that that ignorance need to be wiped from people's heads and teach reality about life.
We used to slag the British off for not having an understanding of the Irish-British relationship over hundreds of years. That, you know, they wouldn't understand about Bloody Sunday or about 1916 or about the famine. They just wasn't taught to them. And what you're suggesting is that it could be similar here in an Irish context for Irish people who just don't understand the Irish story, especially of immigration. Like 95 million Irish people don't live in Ireland because they're immigrants.
You'll find in the Caribbean, there are Irish origins in the Caribbean, everywhere in the
There
world.
are black men with Kerry accents.
Exactly.
In Montserrat.
Yeah. So it's important for us to talk reconciliation, to talk peace, to talk understanding, because we got to create a future for this country, and that future lies with the youth.
See, we all know that Ballymun is a good community anyway, right?
Yeah.
And there is lots of good people in Ballymun.
Yeah.
But they're probably angry for one reason or another. And the chances are they're angry with the government.
Yeah.
And maybe I can't blame them at times for being angry for certain reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
But right now they're probably pointing their anger in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So the question they have to probably ask themselves is, who are we fighting with? Are we fighting with the people that come here, or are we fighting with the government who's literally not helping everybody, let alone one side? So that's where it's possible. That's where the problem could be. It's like they're saying, well, I don't know for sure, but it's like they're saying, look, the governments are not doing anything for us. They won't house us. They won't whatever fix this or fix that or do this or do that. And rightly so, they have the rights to be angry for that. But again, it's just that they might be taking their anger on the wrong the wrong side instead of bringing it directly to the governments.
And it's like the travellers years ago used to get the blame for everything. So the travellers would make up a very small percentage of this country. Yeah, and it reminds me of direct provision, because direct provision is a very, very small percentage.
Yeah.
And in direct provision, you have people who do great stuff, who are great mothers and fathers, who are great children, who have pregnancies, who die, who commit suicide.
Yeah.
You have all of these natural things that you have. And you've also got people who commit crimes, just like in the travelling community, just like in the normal population.
Anyway, yeah.
For example, the travelling community is easy going, oh, I seen a fella dumping, he was a traveller. That means all travellers dump now.
Yeah, yeah.
What do we want? Travellers out.
Mm.
And it reminds me of the situation in direct provision as well. There's a possibility that one video of one guy somewhere doing something that we're not quite sure what he done was, but he's in direct provision and he's brown, so we're all going to label them all as that. Yeah. And we've talked about judging a book by its cover or tarring everybody with the same brush on this podcast over and over and over again. And it's only a small amount of number of people, I think, that do that. But they can be very loud because hate and fear, as I said on the radio, is like paraffin. And you have to get up and get active and get collective and get voting. And people in working class communities across Ireland are doing that. For example, the protests in Ballymun during the week. But maybe they also need to match that with some information from community leaders or people who had experience in this. Because, as I said before, both sides of that protest earlier on today had Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, out.
Yeah.
Where last week it was refugees, out. It's starting to change. People are starting to listen and starting to get informed and make decisions now based on information rather than fear and hate. I had the privilege of standing in a room in Ballymun the other day with you in an apartment block, probably, that's what you could call it, but it's now being used as a refugee centre. Yeah. And me and you met just at the back of one of the protests. There was a lot of kind of fear and shouting and anger and protesting in Ballymun last week. And I kind of snuck in behind that because I didn't want to bring my big stupid head into a protest where people were getting out and, you know, feeling like they had to protest. And I met you. You invited me into this refugee centre. There was a security guard there. He was asking me, who are you and what are you doing here? So I had to kind of say, look, I work in the community. And I stood in a small corridor about 15 foot long. And there was 4 young black African men there, and they looked quiet. They looked like they didn't know how to express what they were feeling inside. And it looked like what they were feeling inside was confusion. So I went up to them and I put my hands out and I held their hands and I said to them, brother, I'm your brother.
Yeah.
And I said, these people outside, they're my brothers as well. And at the moment, they think that you're the devil, that you're the villain, that you're the baddie.
Yeah.
And you might think that they're the villain and they're the baddie as well. But I know both of you. And you're not. They're not the baddies, you're not the baddies. They're not the people you should be fighting, and you're not the people they should be fighting. But that's not where we're at the moment. At the moment, we're looking at each other going, that person out there or that person in there wants to harm me. And it's a lovely divide and conquer tactic or strategy that people in power use all the time. If I'm fighting with the traveller, or if I'm fighting with the gay man, or if I'm fighting with the woman, I'm not fighting power. I'm not fighting government.
Yeah.
And we're not one. We're divided. It's a lovely strategy to use. And once you see the strategy, then you can pull back a bit and we can all stand side by side saying, whoever, out.
Yeah.
Politician, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, out.
Cowards choose soft targets because they know they don't have the power to fight back or the ability to fight back. The moment you are referring to in that center there with those guys, I was with those guys when the protest started, and I could see the fear in them in a room upstairs there. And immediately the protest started, and they started to, please switch the lights, turn down the curtains. I'm watching this movement and the scariness from the guys when this big noise coming from downstairs, and they were peeping with the small in the window to see what's going on. And to me, that fear is what that protest conquers. I mean, brings to people. And when we came down and met you there, I was meeting you for the first time, and that moment when we were together there is the most powerful moment in the history of those guys that were there, because you restored hope to them that it's not all Irish people that have got those chants that you are hearing. There are more like you who only want to express love. That moment was powerful and perfect from those guys who just experienced the fear upstairs. And it would stay with them for the rest of their stay in this country, because somebody came and welcomed them. Because you were looking for me, and the guy says, "Lucky, who's Lucky?" And then the guy says, "No, this guy here is just coming to say just hi to us." And the security was cool enough to allow that to happen. He could have just been saying, no, because they are all also scared. But that moment was just brilliant.
And it's simple. We held hands, we closed eyes, and we took a breath in.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And we stood there together. So I'm excited about what we can do together, because John Connor said to me a few weeks ago when he was on the podcast, he says, imagine what Ireland is going to be like when travellers and working class people work together. Well, imagine what Ireland is going to be like when travellers and working class people and people in direct provision are working together. Oh, that's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful, because I can feel it in this room today.
Yeah. It's going to happen. We've got to believe it, and we're going to work
We're doing
towards
it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have great memories and great imagination, but what we forget is we're right here, right now. Let's just do it. And we are doing it.
Yeah.
We are doing it. The way this happens is we turned up here today. That's how it happens.
That's right.
So that's us for this episode, a Traveller and a Countryman podcast. If you like it, let us know, share it around, and we'll see you on the road.